I'm Queen ShanShan, and this is a broadcast podcast. Chicken orzo soup, burrata caprese, meatball ricotta toast, calamaretti? No, these aren't wigs I'm talking about. These are brand new dishes at Ma's Italian Kitchen, located at 267 North Pass Avenue in Burbank, California. The phone number is at Ma's Italian Kitchen is 818-567-2288. They provide private dining and they also cater private parties. Michelle created an amazing menu, and I want you to tell him Queen ShanShan sent ya. Hunty! Hey girl, hey! We are back with season 2. Welcome back. Did you miss me? We took a little hiatus to gather up some new guests, new topics, new segments, and new tea when it comes to travel, food, beauty, and culture. I cannot wait to have you listen to season 2 with Queen ShanShan. But if you missed season 1, all 13 episodes are still available on iTunes, SoundCloud, Radio Public, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, Google Music Play, and now we are officially on iHeartRadio. Yes! A broadcast podcast is growing globally every day. Are you there, Kazakhstan? How are ya? Are you listening, Borat? How are ya? And guess who is back? Yep, Edward is still here. Hey, Edward.
Hi, Queen.
Hey, girl, hey.
Hey, girl, hey. Well, thank you for having me back for this season.
Oh, you're so welcome. I missed you.
I missed you more. A lot more, because I didn't have anything to do in the 2 weeks that we were off.
You did it?
Or was it a week?
It felt like 2 weeks.
It felt like a year.
But you know what? We needed it. We needed to get
I needed it.
some medicine. You needed to get healthier.
Yes.
Right? We had to get things going and get some great tea for our guests, right?
I miss my therapy, though. Yes.
I miss my therapy. So. Speaking of therapy, girl.
What?
This episode, we have Dr. Judy Bloom. Right?
I'm ready for her.
We are stepping it up. We are breaking down walls and building you all back up. We have Dr. Judy Bloom. She is a clinical psychologist and marriage and family therapist right here in Santa Monica. We talk about how we met in 2017 on our Iceland, Ireland, and Scotland trip. Her transition from being a news anchor. Oh my God, the story. You guys are going to flip your damn wigs. She was an actual news anchor on Fox News and ABC, and she became a psychologist. Wait until you hear her education. It is amazing. We talk about the stigma of mental and emotional health in America. Talk about dealing with elderly parents, like from my point of view and what's going on with me and my parents with cognitive disorder and short-term memory. And share some tips about the sandwich generation. Her new book coming out about personality disorders and what is the challenges that she faced with going back to school and learning a new profession. This episode, you guys, is perfect for season 2, episode 14. Welcome, broads, and welcome, Dr. Judy Bloom.
Hi, Shannon. Nice to be here.
Thank you for being here. I'm so excited.
Me too.
I want to discuss your very fascinating career. But before we start to gab and spill the mental tea, let me take a breath. Let's take an emotional break first and get centered. Either you just woke up to get to work, or you're listening to the podcast in your kitchen, or you're at work and you need a mental break, or you're coming from home from a long day of work, or you're ready to cook dinner and you just don't feel like it. Stop what you're doing, because now I'm about to ruin the image and style that I used to. If you guys know that song, you're as old as me. And listen to Judy. Judy, do you mind leading us bronze into a 2-minute meditational spill chill?
My pleasure. Everyone needs one.
Excellent. Well, let's get into it and help us dig deep, Miss Dr. Judy Bloom.
So I'd like all the broads out there to just close their eyes for a moment. And I want you to first just kind of notice how you're breathing. And as you do, start to deepen that breath so that when you inhale, you really inhale fully and completely, expanding the lungs, the diaphragm, the abdomen. And when you exhale fully and completely as well, expelling all the stale air from your body. And every breath you take relaxes you more and more deeply and completely. And for a moment, just focus on your eyelids and all the muscles around the eyelids, allowing the eyelids to remain closed. Just allowing the eyelids to become nice and heavy with relaxation. Allowing the eyelids to totally and completely relax now. And that relaxation now spreads across your forehead and all the little muscles in the forehead. Just release, relax, smooth out. And every breath you take doubles your relaxation, causing you to relax progressively more and more. And that relaxation now spreads across your cheeks and down into your chin and your jaw. And go ahead and stretch your jaw out. We carry so much tension in the jaw. That's it. And the relaxation now spreads to your lips. They part slightly with relaxation, and the tongue drops away from the roof of the mouth as you completely let go now. And every breath you take doubles your relaxation, causing you to relax progressively more and more. And the relaxation spreads to the front and the back of the neck, and all the muscles there just release and relax, and the shoulders drop away from the neck as they totally let go now. And the relaxation spreads to the biceps and the triceps, feeling those muscles release and relax now. And the relaxation spreads across your elbows and down into the forearms, across your wrists, into your hands, into your fingers, right out through the tips of the fingers. They might even tingle just slightly as the relaxation reaches them. And every breath you take doubles your relaxation, causing you to relax progressively more and more. And the relaxation now spreads across your chest and down into the stomach and the abdomen, feeling those muscles release and relax now. The relaxation spreads to the small of the back, and all the nerves and ligaments located there unwind, just like a rubber band letting go. And every breath you take doubles your relaxation, causing you to relax progressively more and more. And the relaxation spreads across the groin, the hips, the buttocks, the thighs, feeling yourself just sinking into the chair beneath you as you totally let go now. And the relaxation spreads across your knees and down into your calf muscles, across your ankles and into your feet, into your toes, right out through the tips of the toes. So you're spreading that relaxation all the way from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, just feeling totally and completely relaxed now. And now I want you to bring your attention to your forehead and just kind of imagine a miniature version of yourself just sitting there, right in the middle of your forehead. Just sitting there looking around. And as you do, you notice there's this hollow golden cord, and it starts right at the top of your head, the crown chakra. And this hollow golden cord extends down through your body, all the way down to the center of the earth, grounding you to the center of the earth. And as you sit there looking around, you simply notice any thoughts, any feelings, any worries or concerns that come up. You just notice them. And when you do, you wrap them in a bubble So really they're just bubbles floating by. And then you can reach up and grab each bubble one by one and toss it away into the hollow golden cord. And then watch it travel down the hollow golden cord all the way to the center of the earth, where it simply dissipates. So taking a moment now just to notice any thought, any feeling, any concern that comes up. Wrap it in a bubble, and then reach up and grab those bubbles one by one, throwing them away down the hollow golden cord, and watching them travel to the center of the earth and simply disappear. Our thoughts come and go all the time, and really, they only have the meaning that we give them. So there's no point in attaching to them. So we simply notice them, as we've noticed them so many times before. Wrapping them in a bubble and tossing them away. And now putting the golden cord away so that you can use it again the next time. And slowly bring your attention back into the room as I count from 5 to 1. So 5, wiggling your toes. 4, taking a nice deep breath. 3, wiggling your fingers. 2, one more nice deep breath. And 1, open your eyes and bring your focus back into your room. And notice how your energy is shifted.
Oh my goodness. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's great.
That was great.
It only took us a couple of minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's something people can do every day. You can always find a couple of minutes. You can't find half an hour all the time. You
That's
just
true.
can't,
I
right?
can't find a
Exactly. People
Yeah.
just, and you're not going to do it. So my philosophy is find ways to be able to get yourself centered,
Mm-hmm.
be able to bring yourself back into the now.
Judy, we usually talk about food or what we had for dinner, but we are going to change it up. This is season 2. We are
right.
season 2, right? And episode 14. And we are going to have some food for thought tonight. Some mental cake and some drink some thoughtful juice. How does that sound?
It works for me.
It's really filling tonight, right? So I'm here with Dr. Judy Bloom, and I'm definitely intrigued about your career because you told me, and it's amazing. We're going to talk about her career, her education, her volunteer work. You guys, she used to be a news anchor at Fox in New York. I mean, come on. And we're going to talk about what made her change her career to be a psychologist, and what challenges that she faced with going back to school and learning a new profession. So, let's get into it. How did you and I meet, Miss Judy?
We met at a Singles in Paradise tour group that you and I took to Ireland and Iceland and Scotland.
That's right.
And it was a great,
Wasn't it
great,
awesome?
Trip. Oh my God.
Oh my
Saw
God.
the Northern Lights.
The Northern Lights was
Oh,
the
my
pinnacle.
Lord.
I know. This was what? This was 2017.
Right.
Is that just? Oh my God, that was a crazy year for me because I just bought a house with my parents, and and if you remember, I had my hysterectomy like 4 days after we got home.
I remember that.
That was a crazy time in my life. And so we were on this amazing trip, Scotland, Ireland, and Iceland. And I loved Scotland. I wish we were able to stay in Scotland a bit longer,
Me too.
especially when we were in
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh was just
Yes,
phenomenal.
phenomenal.
But Iceland was a surprise.
Yeah.
And weren't we blessed with those northern lights?
We were so lucky.
Every night we had them.
I know, it was amazing.
That
Remember
bus trip?
The
Yes.
driver singing?
Yes, he sang in Viking. He was singing Viking lyrics, Viking songs for us.
I'm just so jealous right now. Green
It was,
right now.
and the thing is, like, we were expecting it to be a long night because we left at 9 o'clock at night, right in the bus.
Right.
It was totally freezing at night. So I was expecting to be home at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because they said that you can't really gauge when the northern lights were going to be on.
Right.
So you don't know.
Right.
What happened within 45 minutes we're on the road? He yells at us to get off the
Right,
bus.
we pull over.
We pull over. I'm like, oh my God, are we in trouble? Is the bus stopping? Like, are we in trouble? In the middle of nowhere, Edward. It's dark. There's no lights. There's no street lights. In the middle.
Fucking desolate.
Desolate.
We've got Vikings.
The bus driver's like yelling at us, get off the bus, get off the bus. We're running off the bus in the middle of nowhere, and Ed has his camera and everything, and all of a sudden, you know,
There they
spectacular lights were
Yeah.
dancing.
really?
Yes, greens and blues and purples.
Dancing across
Dancing.
the sky. It was
Phenomenal.
Out of this world.
outrageous.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, just.
It was
It was something
spiritual.
Yeah.
It was moving. I cried a little bit because I couldn't believe what I was seeing in front of my eyes. I really thought that aliens were going to pick us up because it was alien-like,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
A great experience. So I highly recommend getting to Iceland. It is not that expensive to get there, but it definitely is expensive to stay
Really
there.
expensive to stay there.
And the
Really
restaurants are
expensive
expensive. $17 hot dogs.
It was insane.
Yeah, yeah. So easy to get there.
Mediocre
Affordable.
meals.
Yeah, and they're mediocre.
Yeah,
There's not the
really.
best.
Wow.
Yeah, the drinks
Sorry,
for
guys.
cocktails were like, $14.
Crazy.
But I highly recommend Iceland, right?
Bring
So,
your own food.
and I got to meet you, and we became great acquaintances and friends.
Yes, yes.
So let's talk about really why you're here, because you have a profession that is very sought after. But before we go in there, let's talk about your education. Like, how did you start? And I want to talk about, you were a Fox anchor. Like, what made you go from being this successful Fox anchor in New York and other famous markets to becoming a psychologist?
Fox and ABC. I should
And ABC. Oh my goodness. Yes.
kind of went back and forth between those two
Okay.
during my career. All right, so going back, grew up in White Plains, New York, which is a suburb of New York City, and wound up going to Cornell University and decided to go change the world.
Okay.
that was my calling. I wanted to impact as many people as possible in whatever way I could. And TV news made sense to me. It was sort of that, right? It was like, okay, well, if I go into TV news, then I can reach a huge audience and at least try to present the facts as I know them, because I'm very fact-based. That's my science leaning, and without commentary, just try and present facts as I know them, but from as many different points of view as possible to broaden the way people think about things and see things. So that was sort of my motivation. And once I decided to do that, then I was really motivated to get out of school quickly. So I graduated Cornell in 2.5 years.
What?
So
Oh my
An
God.
Ivy League school.
Ivy League school in 2.5 years?
yeah, I did.
Oh my God.
Because I was in a hurry. So I managed to do and they and
Did you even have time to party, drink, and get crazy?
yeah, of
You
course.
do?
So you're 20, assuming? 20 when you graduated.
In 2.5 years, you got your degree.
yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I was actually still 19 when I graduated.
Did you? So your parents?
I'm 20.
We'll talk about this later. But did your parents pay $500,000 for your test scores?
No, they didn't.
We'll talk about that in a
Doesn't
minute.
seem like
I
you
was,
would need
I, was
that.
a, I was a scholarship kid.
Get it, girl. Work.
Right,
You
yeah.
worked for your education like we're supposed to,
Right.
unlike some celebrities.
Good.
Okay.
Right.
So after
I
that,
was this very young girl.
okay, got it.
And because I had done really well at Cornell and graduating early and all that, I actually got recruited to go to graduate school
Okay.
because of that, right? And but I had no interest in doing that at the time. And my degree was in urban studies because there were no degrees that I could finish in the amount of time I was giving myself and meet all the course requirements. So I petitioned to do an independent major, and called it urban studies. There is now an urban studies major, but there wasn't at the time. Called it urban studies so I could fit in the classes I actually wanted to take, right? And they said, as long as you can maintain this kind of grade point average, what that, blah, 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 fine, no problem. So I did. So here I am, I'm getting out of Cornell. I've got, offers to go to other Ivy League schools for grad school.
Oh my gosh.
At 19.
And
At 19 years old.
and I'm saying to my mother, I'm going into television news.
And what did your mom say?
She said, "You've got the summer."
Uh-oh.
Okay? Right. She said, if you
She gave you 2.5 months.
Right. She gave me 2.5 months. She said, if you can find a job, great. Otherwise, you're going to grad school. That was her reaction.
Okay.
And I said, okay, right. So I wrote letters to every single, and she lived in Manhattan at the time. She moved into Manhattan. So I wrote, not knowing any better, I wrote to every television and radio station in New York and
What?
got either form rejection letters back or no answer.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And then I was walking down the street one day towards the end of the summer and in August, and
Were you feeling defeated at that time?
defeated but determined.
Okay.
I was a very determined young lady. And saw Metro Media's New York headquarters. Metro Media is what became Fox.
Oh.
Okay, so that's where I started.
Interesting. Metro Media.
Metro Media. So I saw Metro Media's New York headquarters on 67th Street, between 2nd and 3rd, and just on instinct, called up, found out the name of the news director, went home and got changed, figured he probably went to lunch about a certain time. I said, but the secretary probably goes out to lunch first. This was just my thinking. And I timed it and walked into the receptionist area of this, giant New York headquarters, right? Said to the receptionist, and his name was Ted Carbaugh, said to the receptionist, tell Ted Carbaugh Judy Blume is here to see him. She called upstairs. Sure enough, secretary had gone out to lunch.
Okay.
He figured he must have had an appointment with me, and she forgot to tell him,
Uh-oh.
and said, send her up.
Stop it.
I
Stop it.
I walk in, he looks at me, and remember, I'm 19 years old, and I look 19. Takes one look at me and he goes, can I help you? And I said, yeah, you can give me a job. And he laughed. And then he said, well, sit down. And I sat
Oh my
down.
God.
We talked for about an hour, and at the end of the hour, he looked at me and said, Judy, I don't have any jobs for you. I said, but if you got in here to see me, you probably have what it takes to become a good reporter. I said, I'll tell you what. I have a production assistant working 6 days a week who only wants to work 5. If you want to work 1 day a week as a production assistant, go for this, go for that, right? Sundays only. You got it.
Right on.
And that was it. Foot in the door. Within 2 weeks, I was on full time.
Get out of here.
And then started coming up with, ideas for stories constantly, just pestering him with ideas for stories, and mostly to shut me up. He'd let me do things, and I do them pretty well, at least well enough. And then I came up with a list of what were considered the dozen worst nursing homes in all of New York City, in the 5 boroughs.
5 boroughs are Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx. Is it Harlem?
Staten Island.
Staten Island.
And Manhattan.
And Manhattan. Got it. Okay.
Came up with a list of the 5 of what were considered the dozen worst nursing homes by
Wow.
the Department of Health for
Okay.
the state of New York,
Uh-huh.
but they couldn't quite nail them. So I convinced him to let me go undercover and see what I could find out.
As
So I talked, they agreed as whatever I could talk my way into.
okay.
Because as he said, if you could talk me into a job, you can talk anybody into a job. So they outfitted me with a camera mounted into a purse and a tape recorder built into my bra. And I went out and I talked my way into a job at every one of those nursing homes.
I am
way.
dying right now. I mean, this is the best tea ever. Oh my God, I love you. This
Oh my God! That's amazing.
Oh my God, this is I'm fully in.
And
then what happened?
then what happened?
So needless to say, I was working my tail off, going from one job to the next, just grabbing subways and getting there. And I was literally working like 3 jobs,
Wow.
And in the process, amassing all this footage and making friends with individual elderly patients in these nursing homes and finding horrific conditions. I mean, just horrible stuff. These poor people just, lying in their own filth for hours and with nobody attending to them. And
What type? What may I ask? What
roaches
is this?
and rats.
Is
I
this
mean, just all kinds of
80s,
stuff.
70s? When was this?
This was in the 70s.
In the 70s,
yeah.
mid 70s. Wow. Okay.
And just horrible conditions, right? And so I'm amassing all this stuff, and then I befriend certain of the elderly who would kind of say to me, because I asked so many questions, right? They'd kind of catch on and go, "You're not really a recreation assistant, are you?"
Oh wow!
Right?
So you posed as an
right.
employee at
Yeah.
some of these
Well, I was
places,
employed.
or I thought you were going to pose as maybe a patient's child, or
No. I got jobs. I got jobs.
you were working at these
I was working at
facilities.
these facilities.
Get
right?
out of here!
So, and I'd take them around the corner. We'd meet a camera. I'd take them for a walk, right?
Wow.
We'd meet a camera crew, a block away, do an interview.
What?
Right. So we just amassed all this stuff, all this footage, and then finally, and it was just sheer coincidence. The last nursing home I worked in, of the 12, okay. By this time, I had found out that all of them were actually owned by the same person under different LLCs, right? And this person also ran some lovely nursing homes. He had both, these really horrible places and also some really top-notch places, all under different LLCs. And I met him in the last place that I worked. He came in one day, and I started, just talked to him for a little bit, and then he said, "I have some things I need you to do for me." And I said, "Sure." And he handed me bills that he was submitting to the state for Medicare and Medicaid for supplies that he would buy for these top-notch nursing homes. And what he would do is superimpose the letterheads of these other places over them and had me Xerox the copies with these new letterheads, so it looked like he had also bought these supplies for these other nursing homes. So what he was doing was committing fraud, right? Medicare and Medicaid fraud. So of course, since I was doing it, I copied the originals, I copied these fake documents, and I made copies of everything for us. So as he sent it into the state, we sent it into the state. We nailed him cold.
Did you
Oh
go
my gosh.
He went to jail.
expose? How long did he go to jail for?
A couple of years.
Ah.
Is he dead? Or is he with us still?
This long time ago. Right?
And this is all. Where can we find this? Where can we find this newsreel? Where can we find it? Is it on YouTube? Is it like how can we find this?
This is before that. This is the 70s. This is a long time ago. It was
So
in the
if
newspapers.
people wanted to see the transcript
good
of this, can they
stories
still
now.
look it up?
The newspapers of the time, maybe.
Yeah, transcripts or.
Microfiche.
I was just gonna say microfiche.
Microfiche, right,
The kids don't know what microfiche means anymore. They Google everything up. But can they Google the story? I'm sure.
I don't know if you can or not. I've never looked, but it's so long ago that I don't know it would be.
That's
it would be,
amazing, Judy.
in that.
So that was your. Oh my goodness!
So that was
What's
my entry into
journalism?
into journalism. And
Oh
to be
my
on-
goodness!
to
And being an anchor.
Be on camera first as a reporter and then later.
And
as
Mr.
an anchor.
Kavanaugh said, "Good work. We're gonna hire you now for a different level." No.
He said, "Great work." Okay. He said, "But Judy, by this time I was 21." He said,
How long was the research in all this, by the way, that you did this?
"Oh, start to finish, probably a year."
Oh my God, a year project on that.
So, and end of all this, I'm 21 years old, right?
Wow.
And he said, "Judy," "I told you someday you're going to be a hell of a reporter." He said, "But I can't put," now remember, this is the 70s, right? He said, "I can't put a 21-year-old girl on the air in New York City.
Unbelievable.
No one's going to believe it," right? There were hardly any women on the air in those days.
Right.
Okay? So he said to me, and in fact, in our newsroom, there was one female reporter, and all she did was, society stuff. That was it.
Or the weather. No, not even maybe that,
Not
huh?
even that in those days. No, all she covered was society, literally in New York.
Unbelievable.
Okay? So he said, "Do me a favor, go somewhere else and get seasoned, and then you can come back to me." So with his help, I wound up getting a job at ABC in Miami, and I became their midday anchor and then reporter for the evening news.
Wow.
And then from that, eventually wound up getting hired by ABC in Philadelphia as their primary person, and then from ABC, but stayed in touch with this same news director the whole time.
Okay.
And after another 2 years in Philadelphia, so 3 in Miami and then 2 in Philly, he called me up one day and he said, "You're ready for New York?" And I said, "Yeah, except I'm really tired of cold weather. I want to go to Los Angeles."
I don't blame you.
And how old are you at this time?
27. I
27.
guess.
So you already
Ripe
have
old age of
6.
27.
The ripe old age. You're an old maid at that time. So you already had 6 years
So he said,
of being an anchor.
Right, by this time he was head of the whole thing. He was
Wow.
So he said
He was up and coming. He was like huge too. Head honcho.
So he said, "Okay, fine, go to LA." That was his answer, right?
Okay.
He said, "You sure?" And I said, "Yeah." He
What
said,
did you
"All right,
work?
fine,
So
go
was
LA."
Fox was the guy?
So
Fox
then
was the.
then I came back out here, and then I wound back. So I wound up coming back to Metro Media / Fox.
Got
which
it.
became Fox,
Okay. Got it.
which is KTTV out here.
What?
And
Isn't that
then,
crazy?
and then was on the air there for the next 7 years.
Oh my God! So you have about 14 years, 15 years
Yeah,
of being an anchor.
About 15.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that's
So you've
amazing.
seen her on the air. I didn't move here until.
Well, that's a long
15
time
years.
No, I didn't see her there. No,
You guys are
no,
young.
she told me
Yeah.
that.
I
She
mean,
just told me.
like, when did you go off the air? Actually, what year? Do you remember?
87.
87. So you're still. I mean, you're because you lived out in.
Well, I'll tell you
Cucamonga,
what.
I guess.
I was in Rancho Cucamonga. I was 2 years old. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was God, in the 80s, I was, 15, 14 years old. Like, in 87, I was still, 88, I graduated high school in 1990.
Yeah, you were
Why are you always aging me, Edward?
That's what I
This
do.
is season
It's part
2.
of
We're trying to not age Queen ShanShan. We're trying to make me like, I'm still like in my teens.
You're ageless.
Judy, that's phenomenal. That is a phenomenal story.
It is. I'm like.
Just from that, it's like, good God, you've already lived a lot of people's lifetimes right there. Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I loved what I did.
You loved what you did.
Yeah.
I mean, the traveling, the stories that you were able to compile.
I loved it. There's a lot about it I didn't love, but as a whole, for me, what I really love was just the constant stimulation of it. You're constantly learning new things.
Yeah.
And, experiencing new things and meeting new people.
Right.
And, every story is different.
Right.
So that was what was appealing to me.
Hey, Edward,
Yeah.
can I ask you a personal question?
Anything. Go ahead.
Do you ever get that not so fresh feeling in your beard?
Oh yeah. Oh, have you seen my beard?
Well, I know of a local company that's called Nappily Naturals that offers do-it-yourself skincare and hair care products. And they are the bomb. And it'll freshen that beard right up in a jiffy with no chemicals.
I love all that.
The shop is called Nappily Naturals, and it's right here in Los Angeles, California. Sharon and Umar combined natural products like jojoba oils and coconut oils and tea tree oils that will freshen your skin right up and make it polished. Visit them today at Nappily Naturals or go shop directly at their website at nappillynaturals.com. Tell them Queen ShanShan sent ya. Hunty! Totally off the cuff, real quick. With the, oh my God, we can go on and on about this. The journalism, the threats that the current administration has had on journalism and reporters. What are your thoughts, being a former anchor, and the threat we have with freedom of press right now? Freedom of speech.
I think it's really frightening is the word. Frightening.
It is frightening.
Yeah.
You would never think in a million years that if you were a reporter to this day then versus what in the 70s, you probably would have never thought that any type of presidential administration would threaten journalism and not be protected.
Never.
And because of that, we've had, unfortunately, homegrown terrorists kill journalism. They had an attack on CNN. That attack in, I believe, it was Virginia or Atlanta, a few journalists were killed from a person who came to shoot because he was, I hate to use the word, radicalized by some of the thoughts on how we should treat journalists, and it's horrible to say that in 2018 that freedom of speech is being threatened. What do you tell future journalists now or reporters now that they want to be?
My daughter's a journalist.
Wow.
My daughter is at the New York Post.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. So
Wow.
This comes close to home, right?
Yes.
Yeah. In spite of me.
So, thank you for sharing that experience. I mean, that is just right there is a book that you can write on, and we're going to talk about your book that's coming out with. But you went from being a successful journalist, being on TV, to why did you now want to become a psychologist?
Back to my daughter,
Okay.
actually.
Okay.
When I was pregnant with Heather, I wound up on bed rest the last 3.5 months of the pregnancy. I had early labor in a helicopter, I should add.
You were pregnant, working on a story.
Yeah, right. And had
And you went into labor in
preterm
your helicopter?
labor in a
In
helicopter.
the helicopter?
I was in a
Oh my
helicopter.
goodness! Oh my gosh!
And wound up on bed rest for the last 3.5 months of the pregnancy. And during that period, having nothing else to do,
Literally in bed.
literally in bed on my side with my hips up in the air. They call it the Trendelenburg position.
On your side?
Yes.
And your legs
on your
in the air?
side, hips up so that you don't deliver.
Get out of here.
Okay.
What is it called again?
And the Trendelenburg position.
Trendelenburg.
Right.
I gotta look
position.
that up.
And they give you this stuff called tributylene to slow down the contractions, right? Which affects the body like speed. So you're
What?
speeding your brains out, unable to move, right?
And you can't go to sleep.
Can't do anything, and watching television lasts about a day and a half, and then you're like over that.
Over
right?
it.
So, having nothing else to do and being the good reporter that I was, I decided, okay, well, I'm going to find out everything I can find out about this kid I'm going to have, right? So I started reading everything I could lay my hands on about just childbirth and all that. Then that extended into parenting, right? And the more I started reading, and I'd been a psych major originally, okay, so it wasn't totally out of left field.
Oh, okay.
But the more I read, the more kind of reawakened that interest. And the more I read, especially about attachment theory, the more I realized I really couldn't be the kind of parent that I needed to be and keep doing the work I was doing. So, because you work all the time, crazy hours, you travel, you do, it's just holidays, whatever, not great with kids. So I decided, well, this is far more important. That's it. So when Heather was 4, and then I had her brother Skylar, and when he was 2, I decided to go back to school and get my master's, get my doctorate, do my internship, whole 9 yards, and change careers.
Unbelievable.
Did you do that in a year or 2?
Yeah.
2 years.
She did it in 6 months.
No, it took 7 years.
Wow. Okay.
With a 2 and a 4-year-old.
That's right.
Starting with a 2 and a 4-year-old.
Right.
Right.
So that was really hard.
I bet.
That was
Yeah.
a lot of work.
Raising 2 children and getting your education.
I didn't sleep.
I bet you didn't.
Right. I didn't have time to sleep. That really was what suffered,
Wow.
But did it, got through it, and changed careers.
Wow.
And, for me, that was a really good decision because I love what I do now.
Right.
And I'm very blessed to have had 2 really successful and rewarding careers. And a lot of the skills that I had as a reporter really help with being a therapist, because as a good reporter, you have to really learn how to listen.
So you got your education, you got your doctorate, you have the kids, you're being a mother, you're a graduate. You're like, what do I do now, and how do I get a job?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's really when you do an internship, depending on how you do that. I did some in a clinic, but I also did some in private practice, where you're working under the supervision of a licensed therapist in private practice.
Got it.
So when I was fully licensed and able to have my own practice, I already had a couple of clients from that, and then just started developing a practice from there. And really it was largely, and still is, largely word of mouth, where, people I've worked with who like what I do and feel they've benefited from my help refer other people that they know.
Now this is in Los Angeles.
In Los Angeles.
Okay,
Yeah,
got it.
My practice is in Santa Monica.
In Santa Monica. Got it. Mm-hmm.
And that's, that and professionals that I know, attorneys, doctors, other professionals that I know who also feel I would be of help to their
Right.
patients or clients, right? Refer people to me. And at this point in my career, I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing this for 25 years.
So it's officially 25 years you've been a psychiatrist, a psychologist.
Right, okay, a therapist.
Therapist.
So, at this point in my career, I have enough people basically who refer to me.
Good. That's awesome.
That makes it.
I can understand.
I'm now on the web, right? No,
Yep.
you can find me on the web.
That's right. So we're going to definitely make sure everyone gets your information so they can contact you if they're in the Santa Monica, West LA, Los Angeles area.
Well, and if they want to work via remotely.
Oh my gosh. Speak on that. How does that work? Okay, so I'm still old school and I want to go see a therapist in person. I want to talk to my therapist and see you. I want to see my therapist and cry and share my tears. But if I'm in New York and I want to still see Dr. Judy Bloom, if I'm in Australia and I want to see Dr. Judy Bloom, how does the Skyping work? How does it feel disconnected? Talk on that. Speak on that.
You know, I think it's very individual how people react to that. Quite honestly, so for some people, especially millennials,
They're all about it.
They're all about it. They're used to talking to people that way.
That's true.
They're fine with it. Right?
Okay.
But I've had, I have, one patient, or three people actually, this family, where first I saw, the son, and then 2 years after he stopped seeing me, he referred his sister to me. And about a year after she stopped seeing me, they both decided mom needed to talk to me.
Interesting.
And mom was in, Indiana, right? So I worked with mom, via remotely.
By phone or by Skype or by the TV or what?
We actually did
FaceTime?
FaceTime.
FaceTime. Okay, good.
But it worked. It works fine. The difference is legally, if I can work with anybody within the state of California, legally under my license.
Okay.
Which means you can bill insurance or whatever, right? Outside of the state of California, you're not allowed to practice as a licensed therapist. However, I can practice as a life coach or as a counselor, right?
So that's the loophole.
Okay.
So if we both understand, that's how I'm practicing, okay?
This is 2019. We still have this stigma on mental health and emotional health. Why is it so hard to admit that one has mental illness or one is suffering from a mental illness situation?
I think it's largely because people's concept of mental illness is that something has to be seriously, horribly wrong with you, okay? And that's not the case. For a lot of people, 1 in 5 people suffer in the country, 1 in 5 suffer from some form of what is diagnostically classified as a mental illness.
1 in 5?
1 in 5, because remember, we're talking about things like anxiety, depression, right? It doesn't mean that you're schizophrenic. And I think that's what people leap to. Okay?
That's true.
So I think that's where the disconnect is. Because in terms of serious mental illness, the statistic is much smaller. It's still, about 1 in 25, 1 in 30, okay, you have a much more serious mental illness. But even then, it doesn't mean that they're going to go out and kill you or something, or that they're wandering the streets ranting or something. But that's people's concept of what mental illness is. So that's I think where the disconnect is.
So my parents.
Right.
My parents are 78, 79 years old. And it's taken a long time for them to realize that there's something going on with them mentally and emotionally. My dad, I think for the last 10, 12 years, his memory has been fading. And it was very apparent to me and my brother. And we just knew that he was more aloof, more forgetful, didn't know what was really going on. So me and my brother had to remind him on things. My mom was sharper than my dad.
Right.
And then last 4 or 5 years, my mom took a nosedive with her memory.
Yeah.
My dad's medicine was working. My mom's medicine was not. She was diagnosed with cognitive issues. She was diagnosed with dissolutional disorder. And what that means, to me and my brother at least, my mom always feels that she's being chased. She has hallucinogenic, she hears things. She thinks someone's chasing her, someone's watching her, someone stole her purse, someone stole her keys. Someone's always out to get her.
Yeah, paranoia.
Okay, paranoia. But it's not schizophrenia paranoia. That's where I want to make sure that's clear.
Yeah, delusional part.
It's delusional. For years, she thought a skinhead was after her. Someone from school, because my mom used to work at schools in high school. She used to work the hardcore schools, high schools, where kids would get kicked out of regular high schools. So she'd be the teacher's aide and counselor for the hardcore high schools. So she had it in mind that one of these students followed her to home and just sat in their car and watched my mom for years. My mom thought someone was sleeping in the attic for years with a cell phone. I'm like, Mom, really? If someone was sleeping in the attic, snoring, wouldn't you call 911? Oh, but she'd make all these excuses that she didn't call the cops. And it's even worse now. I bought them a house in an area, and she has now said that there's gang members trying to break in. She said there was someone moved the curtains, someone did this. And me and my brother are up in our arms. We don't know what to do. And I don't want to put my mom in a home because my mom is still shopping and cooking and cleaning the house. She's still very agile. She's still very active. And so is my dad. And we've taken her to a new psychiatrist, but she is in denial. She doesn't think there's anything wrong with her.
Right.
What do I do?
Well, short-term memory loss is very common, right? And the delusional part adds another complicating factor to it, okay? But the key is to not try to convince her that she's wrong, because she's not going to accept that. It's simply to allow her to talk about whatever it is that's bothering her, okay? And then be empathetic, and then straightforward and directive. That's really what's key.
And my thing is, I'm not empathetic.
Right.
I'm very upset.
Yes.
I'm very angry.
Yeah, you're angry.
I'm very angry about this whole situation.
Yeah, of course.
And I am in denial too.
You're losing the parents you love and
Of course
love.
I am.
Right.
These are not the parents who raised me.
No. And so taking care of yourself is key.
Absolutely.
All right? That's key. Because with them, you have to learn how to be accepting, empathetic, and then just straightforward, directive, tell, don't ask. If if they say something, don't dispute it, accept whatever it is they have to say, but get them to talk about it. And then you can say to them, okay, what can we do to make sure that you feel safe? Okay. It's that kind of thing. Set up their environment so it feels safe and user friendly to them. And, where necessary, even selective lying, like saying, when necessary, come on, let's go to lunch, when really you're going to the doctor, okay?
Well, that's true. There, my brother has it down pat for the doctor visits,
exactly.
for sure. Yeah.
We're going to lunch, and then, we're going to stop at the doctor on the way.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and it gets confusing because sometimes they're lucid. So it becomes kind of a juggling act that you're working with.
Yeah.
But the key is not to argue with them. You've got to learn acceptance and detachment from that. And know that underneath, that person you love is still there.
I am so excited to introduce this brand new sponsor, Michelle Castillo. She's a friend of mine, but she's also an estate planning attorney, and her practice focuses on helping families for the future. Her areas of practice is estate planning, trusts, wills, healthcare directives, power of attorneys, guardianship nominations, trust administration, probate, and asset protection. She has over 15 years experience in the real estate, mortgage, and insurance industry, and she's a good friend of mine. Contact Michelle Castillo today. She's also bilingual in English and Spanish. Her phone number is 818-384-2686. Once again, 818-384-2686. And her website is michellecastillolaw.com. Tell her Queen ShanShan sent ya. Hunty! So, I'm excited to share with the audience. You have a new book coming out, and it's about personality disorders and how to recognize them and deal with them with another person, correct?
Right. Yeah.
And some fun stuff. You plan on running a couples retreat next year, and I want to talk about the goal in that retreat and what you hope to accomplish. So let's speak on the new book and the retreat.
Love to. So the book that I'm working on is all about personality disorders, and there are 10 of them, 10 different types.
Ooh.
So let's quickly go over what those 10 types are,
Let's.
kind of how you can recognize them, right? What the general kinds of signs are.
Okay.
Right? So the first of those is a paranoid personality disorder, okay, which again is different from having, like your mother, some paranoia around a delusional kind of disorder that's going on that's associated with aging. These are personality disorders. These aren't age specific.
Okay.
Okay. So paranoid would be, just kind of general suspicion. Everybody's out to get me. Everybody's against me. Okay. It's that person, right? A schizoid personality, you can notice if they seriously avoid any kind of social interaction, seem completely indifferent to any kind of social cues.
Schizoid or a schizoid?
Schizoid.
How do you spell that?
SCHIZOID.
Okay.
Schizotypal, okay, it's on the schizophrenia spectrum. It's not full-blown schizophrenia, but it's kind of on that spectrum. And with that, you see much more real severe social anxiety and paranoia and kind of magical thinking, odd dress, odd speech, those kinds of things.
Okay.
Okay. Antisocial personality disorder, that's what you see with criminals, right?
Okay.
So it's people who really just don't care about the feelings or rights of others. They really don't have empathy.
Is that considered a psychopath?
We would call, colloquially, you call it a psychopath. The actual clinical term is sociopath.
Sociopath. Got it.
The next one is an avoidant personality disorder. That's somebody who's just seemingly extremely shy. They always feel inadequate and they can't express or control their feelings, and they just avoid interaction as much as they can.
Okay.
A dependent personality really needs the aid or encouragement of others to even function. They're constantly looking for
So beyond being a codependent.
That's right, beyond being codependent. They're just constantly looking for others to
Oh,
tell,
I know a few of those.
right, to encourage them to do what they need to do, or
Yeah.
to aid them in doing it, right? Mm-hmm. Obsessive compulsive personality disorder, which is one I think a lot of people are a little familiar with.
And they relate to it too.
Right, where people engage in very repetitive behaviors or thought patterns, and it's very hard to control. Okay. Histrionic personality disorder, where somebody's very overly dramatic and attention-seeking, is constantly doing things to draw attention to them, but probably, kind of very outlandish dress or, very outlandish kinds of attention-seeking
Okay, Judy,
behaviors.
you don't need to tell me I have this personality disorder. Okay, I understand. I get the drift. I have that. Do I have that disorder? Let's be honest. You called it histrionic?
It's called histrionic.
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 I know Heather's
like
going to say.
history?
Heather's going to text me when she listens to this. She's like, "You have histrionic disease, biatch," and I'm like, "What?"
It's not a disease. It's
A personality disorder. Oh, Heather's going to be all about it. Watch.
Is there any?
Tell her she's not qualified to diagnose.
Yeah, Heather, you're not qualified for the diagnosis.
Now, does everyone fall into one of these categories?
No.
No? Okay.
And then the two which I think are probably the most recognizable to the audience, in other words, they've heard the most about them, are borderline personality disorder, which is very unstable emotions, very reactive, especially when they feel abandoned. And these are people who swing between idolizing somebody and then tearing you apart. You're like the worst ever. Okay, it's that person where they kind of flip on a dime. Okay, 1 minute you're just the best, right? And the next minute you're total trash.
You're the worst.
Right, okay? But it's not, somebody with bipolar disorder, those kinds of mood swings are very cyclical. This is not cyclical. This is someone who gets set off by something specific that triggers them.
But is it chemical still?
And it's usually, these are more genetic than chemical, and we'll get into that in a minute, but, and also things that have happened to them in their lifetime. It's a combination. But with the borderline, they can be really charming 1 minute and then attacking you the next.
Interesting.
Okay? It's that. And it's set off when they feel abandoned, okay? So if they feel you're leaving them, like you're in a relationship and the other person says, I'm out of here,
Interesting.
I'm not taking this, right? The second they say I'm out of here, this person just flips, I mean, really flips, right? Because I'm being abandoned. Or even if the person says, I need a timeout, they're going to feel like they're being abandoned, okay? It's that, right? So that's the borderline. And then the narcissistic personality disorder, another one that most people are a little more familiar with, have a very inflated view of their own self-importance. And
I wonder who that sounds familiar with.
frequently, yes, and frequently at the expense of others, including
Interesting.
the whole country, right?
And then the whole country is at, I'm not going to say any names, but we all know who I'm talking about.
And they very much come from that. Oh, there's only one way to do things, and my opinion is the only one that actually matters.
And that opinion huge.
Is it my way or the highway?
Is it my way to highway?
It's my way or the highway, but it's also more. There's only one way to do things, and I'm going to tell you what it is. And I'm only telling you because you need to know that there really is only one way to do things.
And they really believe
They
that.
really believe that. That's correct.
And if you don't believe them, then you're crazy, right?
Right. Okay. It's that. Okay. So it's not the more of the parent who's overly aggressively controlling of the child.
Micromanaging.
It's not that. It's
Okay.
It's much more a personality.
Yeah.
That is not just my way or the highway. It's my way because it's the only one that makes any sense. It's the only one.
But to that,
There's no room for anyone else's opinion.
interesting.
Okay, or input.
Or input.
Right.
And because you don't want that input or you don't believe in that input, then you
They won't take it in.
exactly.
Right. So
To
the
the-
only
to
way to deal with someone like that really is first you have to make them right, because they won't hear you if you don't make them right. So you have to make them right, and then you can tell them why you disagree. But first you got to make them right, and you also have to convince them that whatever you want to do is going to reflect well on them, because that's really all they care about is
interesting.
how it reflects on them.
Of course, narcissistic.
That's right. So, the causes of all this stuff, there's usually a genetic component, and then there's frequently a combination of that with an early dysfunctional life at home, abuse, neglect, that kind of thing. But again, it doesn't have to be abuse. It could also be neglect. I mean, there's lots of things
Right.
that can happen in the household. And, different signs, somebody, depending on the personality disorder, but, eccentric, dramatic, erratic, anxious, fearful. Drug and alcohol dependencies are common co-occurring disorders, and depression, suicidality are more common, and mood stabilizers as well as cognitive behavioral therapy are helpful.
Okay. And when
And my book is going to get more into how individuals can deal more with those individual personality disorders if you need to.
when should we expect this book?
Probably about a year.
Okay, so you're still doing your research.
I'm still in the-
You're methodic in
Yep.
getting that.
I'm
Obviously, from what we've learned about you so far, I'm looking forward to that.
Great, thank you.
And we got to have you definitely back on, right, Edward?
Oh my gosh.
To
We have
discuss
you
the
here
book
every
even
week.
more in depth.
Like you can be the sidecar psychologist.
Oh my goodness, you're gonna be my Gail. Not my Gail. You're gonna be my Izanya.
Doctor.
Oh, you want my Dr. Phil? I already have my Dr. Phil ready.
Yeah.
Right on. Oh yeah. Okay. So then now tell us real quick in just a couple more minutes, your couples retreat that you plan on doing.
Yeah, and I'm excited about that because, for one thing, I get to travel to the retreats.
Right?
So it feeds my love
Of
travel,
course.
right? But I'm also really excited about working in that kind of a format with couples. I specialize in couples as well as singles with relationship issues and anxiety and depressive disorders and sexuality and addiction.
Awesome.
So, the couples retreats are a way to look at different issues that couples face over time, depending on where they are in coupledom, if it's at the beginning or the middle or, they've been married or together for a long time. Different things come up. But, sometimes it's just that the energy has become kind of flat and
Right.
boring, and they experience, less connection or passion, and they want to reclaim some of that. So I can help people become conscious of how they speak, how they listen to one another, learn to really more actively appreciate one another and identify each other's love languages so that they can communicate on a very different level than they are used to communicating. and really work on understanding that the couple is a unit and is primary. Yes, we are individuals, but the needs of the couple have to be primary in order for the couple to work.
Yes.
That's a really big piece of it.
Absolutely.
Sometimes there are affairs that have happened or other breaches of trust, and we can look at ways to heal that. These are very deep wounds, but there are ways to heal it if you choose to do that.
Because I know I've been cheated on, in my relationships, and when you break that trust, it's hard to get it back. I'm like, bye, get out of here.
Right. Well, and that's why I'm saying
Hit the door.
If you want to work on that, and again, a lot of that depends how long the couple's been together.
No.
Right.
No.
But there are ways to heal it and make very deep amends. But it requires a lot of work.
Yeah, it does.
Okay. And others find that they just keep having the same arguments over.
That's
and over.
right. That's
and
right.
Again, we can look at how you handle it and communication patterns and what your triggers are for each other, and how to really learn what those are and use that as an opportunity for growth and really overcome those destructive patterns and resolve some of those very long-standing conflicts that come up. Staying in love requires a real conscious commitment and a lot of work. It really does. It doesn't just happen. And I don't want people living, in a couple, being in a couple's relationship just because it's easy and you don't even talk to each other anymore.
Right.
Okay, that doesn't work. You want to be in a loving, supportive relationship. You want to know this person is truly my best friend. They've got my back at every minute. That's what you want. And that they care about you deeply. They cherish you.
That's a good word, cherish.
Yeah. And you can have that. And you can have that forever if you learn the tools to do it.
Absolutely.
And I can give people the tools to do that.
Well, you know what? I don't have a couple. I am not a couple yet, but I would, if I was a couple, I would be going, hey, speaking of that, we're going to go into that real quick. Where would you like the first couple retreat to be?
Bali.
Bali. And when do you plan on setting this off?
And also within, I don't know, the next 8 months, 10 months.
Oh my goodness. Well, if I'm a couple, then I'm going to Bali with you.
Yeah, great.
Just to go to Bali. My God, it's
Right.
amazing.
No, we're going to stay at a beautiful place.
I'm all about it.
We'll go as a couple.
You and I will go as a couple? Okay, we'll fake the couple, but there's some things I want to talk about Edward, some things I'm not happy with him
So
about.
you had to be like a
doesn't have to be
married
a married
traditional
couple. No, we can
couple.
also
I have to-
relationship,
Okay,
right?
I'm gonna have to spill some tea about Edward, things I don't like about him and stuff like that. I'm perfect, so he doesn't really need to talk about me, but
See that we can work on that, right? Dr. Boone can help with that.
And in the future,
the assumption.
I will have Seagulls retreats as well.
Right on, honey, sign me up. Well, thank you very much for that. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Edward emailed me a couple days ago. And he's like, you know what? We really need to talk more about travel. So he's like, let's do a new segment. So season 2, we have a new segment, broads, and it's called Obscure Places. And I'm like, amazing, Edward. Yes, great idea. And what is the meaning of your obscure segment, or Obscure Places segment, Edward?
The meaning of it is there are places in the world that get all the glory, and they're the obscure places that don't get any. But the reason they don't get any is because people don't know about them. So I think that the little known places are the more intriguing places.
Yeah, like everyone wants to go to Spain or Italy or Mexico, but what are the really tangible places that you can go into these really great countries?
Right, and people, you can go and say, I went to this place, and people are like, oh my gosh, where is that? And you can tell them. It's like, hey, I went to New York City. Oh, great, everybody's been to New York City.
Yeah, everyone's been to New
or
York City.
Everybody's been to, most places in this country, or like you said, Paris, or, all those
Right,
places.
those are regular places.
Yes,
like,
go to
yeah.
those places, but also don't forget the obscure places.
Right, in Paris that people don't know about. So speaking of that, a couple weeks ago, a month ago or so, Lori was on the show, and we talked about the Cinque Terre. And Edward said, well, what's the Cinque Terre? And it is this awesome place in the Amalfi Coast in Italy. It's 5 small towns that are located in the Amalfi Coast.
Right.
And I don't even ask me what the names of these towns are, but everybody says, go to the Cinque Terre. I've been there 3 times already. It is magical, okay? And you can get there by train. You fly into Rome, you fly into Naples, you take the train in Naples or Rome, and then you take a bus or a train to the Cinque Terre. And these are 5 small towns that are so quaint and so cool. The restaurants, they have all kinds of restaurants and shops and everything. But they're villages, and they're gorgeous because they're on the seaside or the cliffs of the hillside in Italy. Very affordable to get there. Each town has its own unique Italian cuisine. So just because you have gnocchi in one town or the other gnocchi maybe prepared differently, or their spaghetti or their bolognese, or they have different types of cheeses. Each town has a unique taste. And so if you ever find yourself in Italy and you have more time to spend in the Amalfi Coast, I definitely advise the Cinque Terre. You spell it as it sounds like you'd spell it with a CH, but it's actually spelled Cinque, and then the next word is terra, Terrr. Terrr. So highly recommend Googling the Cinque Terre. It's an amazing place.
The translation is 5 towns?
5 towns.
5 towns.
Yeah, 5 towns.
I mean, amazing Italian food.
Have you been there?
How can you go wrong?
Yeah, I can go on with Italian food anyway, but when you have 5 towns with different 5 tastes,
Oh, my God.
that represents the town. Come on. Have you been to the Cinque Terre down there?
I've been to the region, yeah.
You've been to the region, yeah.
Exactly,
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
A number of years ago, but I will definitely go back. In fact, one of my goals is to, within the next 2 years, is the plan, to start spending between 3 and 6 months abroad every year, based in different places around the world.
Nice.
And then just traveling from there. So one of the areas that I'm going to locate in is going to be in Italy.
Okay.
So that would be, a chance to really explore not only all of Italy,
The
but
whole
some
country of
right,
Italy,
exactly, and then some of the surrounding
Wonderful.
European area as well. And every year pick a different place and do that.
And because you do the FaceTime and the Skype, you can
Remotely,
still
I
work.
Still work. Exactly
Excellent.
right. Yeah.
Excellent.
And then run retreats in whatever area I happen to be going to.
So what is your remote place or obscure place that you want to talk about real quick?
Having been to, at this point, 58 countries.
What?
Yeah.
You've been to 58 countries?
58 countries.
Oh my God, I've been
I
to
wrote it down the other day.
almost 30 now, so I have a lot
that's
way
amazing.
to work
Hey, I'm
for.
older than you,
So what is your obscure place?
So my obscure place, I guess, is the Seychelles. I want
Oh.
to go
yeah.
there because great diving. I'm a scuba diver,
Okay.
so that's high on the list.
Okay.
And I will be going scuba diving actually in Belize because I'm going to do Cabo, where I go frequently because it's easy. And then we'll go down to Belize, and Belize has great diving. So
Okay.
we're going to do that in December. And in between, I'm looking at a Rhine River cruise. I'm looking at renting a sailboat with some friends and doing a sail around Croatia and possibly going hiking in New Zealand. So
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All
Wonderful.
amazing.
All amazing. And Edward, what's your obscure place that you want to talk about?
Well, I've actually been to this place, so that's one of the reasons I picked it. Not a lot of people have heard of it, but it's called Pamukkale, Turkey.
Okay.
Have you been?
I haven't been to Kampali, but I know it. But I've been to Turkey.
You've seen the photos.
Yeah, and I've been to Istanbul. And,
Oh yeah, such a great country.
Yeah, it is a wonderful country.
Pamukkale actually means cotton castle.
Cotton
I
castle.
did not know that, but once I googled it, and I was
Right.
like, yeah, it does look like a cotton castle.
Yeah.
But it's like it's a calcified like pools of water that's kind of like on the side of this mountain. Not really a mountain; it's a hill, and it is spectacular. It's like something you've never seen in your life. It looks like aliens came there, built it, and left. And
I want to
enjoy
go
that.
see that so
Enjoy
bad.
that. Thank you very much.
I want to see that.
But
Sounds
it's there.
great.
It's like it's in the midst of like Roman ruins. There's a big amphitheater there as well, and there's a place called there's a natural bath called Cleopatra's Bath, and you can go swimming in it. It feels like you're like bubbling inside once you get out.
Yeah, terrific.
It's giving you life.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my my place that I would recommend people going.
Yeah.
They do beautiful like hot air balloons from there,
Oh, they do?
rides from there.
So
yeah.
do you-
I'm going. You sold me.
Yeah, it's all-
I want to go. Well, but, I was in Istanbul last year for just 2 days, and it was fantastic. So that's so ever since you've mentioned Pamukkale, that's been my goal. So hopefully I get to pair that with my Egypt trip later on this year.
Get there.
I want to spend at least another 10 or 12 days in Turkey.
I don't care how you get there, just get there if you can.
Oh my God, that's one of my favorite songs.
I know.
Easy.
But yeah, that's the first segment of What's the
Obscure
segment
places.
called?
Obscure
places.
places. Yes. And thank you, Judy. And thank you, Edward, for that. Hey, if you're poking around on the iTunes podcast app or any other platforms you listen to, please be sure to give us a review and a 5-star rating. Thank you for listening, broads, and continuing to subscribe to our podcast. And I want to thank Dr. Judy Bloom.
Thank you, Shannon.
Did you have a good time, Judy?
I had a great time.
Oh my God, we've learned so much about you. I mean, you're definitely coming back. You're going to be my Dr. Judy Bloom.
There you go.
You're going to be the show's Dr. Judy Bloom, and it's going to flourish. I'm so grateful. Wow, all the stuff you told us tonight, I had no idea. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Glad I could share it.
Thank you very much. And I want to tell the people, or you tell the people, how do the broads get in touch with Dr. Judy Bloom?
Easiest way, go to my website,
And that is?
which is www.drjudybloom.com. Important to spell my name correctly, which is JUDIBLOOM.
Okay.
Okay, so drjudybloom.com, and then there are contact points there. And I have about 50 different videos and audio recordings there. I had a radio show on the air for 5 years. Didn't mention that one.
Oh my God. Good Lord.
But that, there are lots of segments from that up there. There's a bunch of videos that I shot that are up there, all about various issues, from sex to parenting, whatever, to had anxiety disorders to depression.
Well, I'm definitely
all
going to
kinds of
note and put that in the notes on the website and on the newsletter for sure.
things. Great.
Absolutely.
So, that's the easiest way. You can also always call me at 310-919-7834, which is my cell. You can also text me there. That's fine.
What's the number again, please?
310-919-7834.
Okay.
And I always return calls. So people
Yes, she
know
does.
And text. I'm really good about that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for that. That definitely information will be on the newsletter, you guys, on the podcast information liner notes, and on the website. And of course, I want to thank my trusty, dusty, rusty Edward Carr.
Thank you for having me back.
You've been amazing.
Too. Thank you. Love to.
We're keeping you.
I can't wait to go on our couples trip.
Oh my God, we have so much to tell, Judy.
Have you?
Thank you, Edward, for being here and being my amazing partner and my co-producer. Broads, join us next week as we welcome Los Angeles' busiest real estate agent, Robert Fielder, to the show. A podcast is brought to you by me, Queen ShanShan, with the help of Devin Carbaugh. Devin edits the show. Our amazing intro and outro music is by Joe Smith. Our art direction is brought to you by Theron Langhorne. I am Queen ShanShan, and thank you for listening to Abroad.